Welcome back to another episode of 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Today, we're sitting down with Kent Shelley, a filmmaker, Army veteran, and founder of Alpha Response Network. From growing up in England and serving as a military police officer to building a career behind the camera with Cine 48 and documenting real-life stories on the border, Kent has lived a life where service and storytelling collide. We'll dive into his journey, what it's like filming alongside law enforcement, and the vision he has for the future of raw, unfiltered storytelling through ARN. Welcome, Kent.
You're listening to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice, where we honor the bravery of the first responders and the families who stand behind them. Real people, real stories, real heroes. This is 8158. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of 8158 Podcast, Stories of Sacrifice. Today, we have a special guest. His name is Kent Shelley. He's an awesome guy. I think you're going to enjoy his story. He does some wonderful things that we're going to get into, and we're going to welcome him to the podcast. So welcome, Kent.
Thanks, brother. Glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me on.
It's an honor and a pleasure. So people know how you and I got connected. So James Tanner is somebody to Mark Lamb.
That's right. Yep, they
Is
are
he like this PR guy or something.
They're actually, before James started working for Mark, they were best friends. In fact, Mark married James and his wife, Afton.
Oh wow!
So
that is awesome.
Yeah, so that's how I was introduced to Mark, was through James. It's a solid dude.
So how long have you known Mark total?
I've known Mark for a little over 5 years now.
Okay.
So it seems like a lot longer, but yeah, when I think about it, it's been about 5 years I've known Mark Lamb. It's been some of the funnest 5 years too. We've done a lot of stuff together all around the country, and it's never a dull moment with Mark.
I can imagine. He seemed like a very fun guy.
He is. He really is. He's opened up a lot of doors for me, and he's definitely one of the best dudes I've ever met in my life. He's a very humble human being, and he wants everyone to succeed in whatever they do, and can't thank him enough for all that he's done for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he's pretty awesome. I noticed he's very eloquent in the way he says things, and he's very well read.
Yes,
he likes philosophy.
He absolutely does. Yeah, I know you just did a podcast with him too, and I've done. I did a podcast with him, but I've known him, obviously been with him for a long time, the camera on him. And yeah, man, you hit it on the head. I feel like an idiot when I'm talking to him, because he is just on a whole different level of, what's the word I'm looking for? Now I'm trying to sound eloquent. The dude is just so smart. Like, I feel like an idiot standing next to him. He just,
right.
He can bust out these quotes and philosophy. And I'm just like, man, the guy's a genius level.
Yeah. I got that picture from him.
Yeah.
And it's very inspiring for me,
mm-hmm.
because it makes me want to be better and,
mm-hmm.
and want to read more, because I don't read a whole lot. I don't get time to read, but I do have a lot of books that I could read, and like I can't even think of it now. See, my brain is just like sometimes.
I'm right there with you, dude. I've got so many books on my shelf that I have purchased, over the years to to sit down. The thought of sitting down and reading sounds awesome, but for whatever reason, it never happens. It's like I would rather get on YouTube and watch some video about aliens or something stupid, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But reading is really it's a good thing to do, and apparently you retain that information a lot better than if you were watching something.
Right.
So
yeah, I was in the process of reading the Divine Comedy of Dante's Inferno.
Oh wow.
And I haven't really fully gotten through that. So and I have another book that I bought, and it's like that thick, William Shakespeare.
Okay.
So it's got all of his stories in it.
Oh, that's cool.
That's going to be a feat in itself.
Good luck with that one, dude.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
So let's get into your early life, your path and service. So you were born in England and moved around a lot because of your dad's Air Force career. How did that shape your growing up?
It's a great question, man. My upbringing was very odd. Most kids wouldn't experience this. So my mom, she was from England, Cambridge, and my dad was in the Air Force. Met her in England when he was stationed there, and I was conceived there. But my dad was from Silver City, New Mexico. All of his family to this day are still ranchers. And when I say ranchers, like legit ranchers, they are dirty redneck people that, just the epitome of what you can think of. Right. And then on my mom's side, very proper, or posh is what they call it. They use forks and knives for everything. The way they speak is very, very proper. So my upbringing was odd because every other summer, and when my dad retired from the Air Force, he worked for Continental Airlines at the time. So every other summer, if I wasn't on the farm or the ranch, building fences or doing whatever that we need to do on the ranch, I was in England spending a whole summer. So did that all the way till I was about 17 years old, back and forth every summer. So I would go back to England and I'd bring back some of these American trays, right? Sometimes we didn't eat with forks and knives. And I remember like it was yesterday, I remember sitting down to eat with this family, and they were appalled that I wasn't using a fork and knife. They called me a Yankee and told me, like, Ken, you should be using a fork and knife. And my mom was actually she was offended. She was more upset about it than I was. And She's like, do not tell my kid what to do. It's kind of funny, but yeah. So my upbringing was odd, very American, but very English as well. And then, that lasted until I was about 17. And, but been in Arizona since 95. My dad, before he got out of the Air Force, he was stationed in Colorado, Washington State. So yeah, I've been all over the place in the States, but, been in Arizona since 95.
Okay. So since settling in Arizona, what stood out the most about making that move compared to your early childhood?
Oh boy. Well, I didn't answer your question. I apologize. I'll go back to this. My dad being in the Air Force, I looked up to him being in the Air Force, right? I thought military service was a good thing to do. So when I turned, I must have been 21, 22. I first tried to get into the Air Force, but at that time they they weren't taking anyone in. It's almost like they were too full. I remember the recruiter saying, "Hey man, we're not taking anyone right now." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I literally walked out of the Air Force recruiting center and turned the corner and went to the Army, and they took me like that. Wish I still went Air Force, of course. But joined the Army and did a 6-year contract with them, and learned a lot. My MOS was a 31 Bravo, so I was basically a cop in the military.
Okay.
And
military police.
Yep, military police, and did my contract. The interesting thing though is I spent maybe a couple years of doing actual military police stuff, and the rest of my time was being a UAS operator. I was selected because of my PT score and my ASVAB score. They basically said, "Hey, Kent, we got a position that's available if you want it. It's essentially flying drones." Okay. And I jumped on that because I was already interested in flying drones and stuff. So did that for the remainder of my my service, and had a lot of fun doing that. But the drones were only surveillance drones. No weapon systems on them or anything like that. It was purely just for surveillance. And they were the worst drones ever too, man. The Army naturally already gets the hand-me-downs from, the Air Force or whatever. It's just the crappiest of the crappy. I think the Marines actually get the worst stuff, but our drones, they were called the Ravens. I believe the wingspan, they were a fixed wing drone. The wingspan was about 4 feet in total, I believe. And you would literally launch it, hand throw it. And depending on the antenna, there we go. We could get a range anywhere from 5 miles to 10 miles. We'd be out there in the desert flying drones, doing recon missions and looking for people where they shouldn't have been, essentially. So that was a lot of fun. Then I got out and got back into film, which I was doing previously.
Okay. That's pretty awesome. I mean, you're not quite following your father's footsteps, but you are, in a sense, you're going down that path.
Yeah.
So back to, settling into Arizona. So you settled into Arizona in 1995. And so what stood out the most about making that move compared to your early childhood?
Making that move?
Yeah.
What stood out? Oh man, that's a tough one.
Any memorable moments or anything that was different than from going from England to settling into Arizona, very dry and
yeah, there's a lot of different things. Like I said, we lived in Colorado, we lived in Denver, Washington State, we lived in Houston, Texas at one point. All very different climates.
Yeah.
And then when we got to Arizona, I remember vividly the smell of the desert. Has this interesting smell, especially when it rains. And it's like a sweet, I can't even describe it, man. But I remember smelling this as soon as we pulled up to our house and smelling this really interesting desert smell and falling in love with Arizona. It's like, man, this is awesome. It wasn't like Houston, where Houston, nothing against Houston, right? But it was just very different. Arizona just had this way of attracting people, and us too. And like I said, we've been here since '95, and still love it to this day. I will say every summer though, I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? I got to get out of here. But Yeah, we've been here since '95 and don't have any plans anytime soon to leave.
What's that? 30 years?
About 30 years, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't do math, but it sounds about right.
Yeah, 95, 25.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. 30 years. So yeah, I've been here for 30 years.
I've been to Arizona before when I was trucking, and I did long haul, Tucson, Phoenix,
Mm-hmm.
and then Texas. But I mean, I've been all over the country except for, um, let's see, I haven't been to Pennsylvania or Maryland or any states like that or
Mm-hmm.
Florida, but I've been to every other state like Alabama, Georgia, every state, west of that.
Sure. Yeah. And dude,
There are
there's so many cool, unique things about every state. They all just have their own you know characteristic. They all have their own personality. That's what I'm trying to say. And
right.
yeah, it's traveling's fun, man. I wouldn't say travel is fun when you're in elementary, junior high, some of high school, but it's fun as an adult to visit new states and new
Yeah.
experience.
It is, and the beauty in the landscape, differs, the further you go.
Yeah.
And, like I've been to Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia, but every landscape has its unique beauty. And I lived in Montana for 20 years.
Oh man.
And it is like the Western Montana is one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen. Aside from the Sierra Nevadas, Montana is gorgeous.
It is, man.
Yeah.
It is. Been to Montana a couple times, just driving through, but fell in love, man. We loved it so much that we were actually looking at buying property in Montana, and it was just outrageous. Some of these, some of this land, like a quarter acre was like $1 million. I was like, nope. That was without the house. That was just land.
No, it's too expensive now.
Yeah.
Way too expensive now.
Yes, it is.
Not like it was back in the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
things have gotten very expensive.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's probably not going to be the last frontier anymore.
So true, brother.
So
I guess the final frontier is Alaska. We got to move to Alaska.
Yeah, the final frontier.
You might still have some cheap land out there. We might freeze to death, but
yeah, nobody wants to live there.
We'll either freeze to death or get eaten by a freaking bear or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said you were always drawn to camera and film from an early age. What's some of the earliest projects or inspirations that you had?
Oh man, it's a tough one, dude. Because I like a lot of different styles. I'm a huge Star Wars guy. Very very big George Lucas fan. Steven Spielberg. But I also love more on the drama side. I love the show Cops. Ever since I was a kid. I remember in Houston, Texas, actually, when I was, I don't know, 4 or 5. I probably shouldn't have been watching this stuff, but somehow I was. My parents would put it on or something. But I remember even falling in love with the show Cops when I was a kid and just being amazed by what these men and women were doing, right? Yeah, man, I don't know. I guess my style is and I've got a unique style when it comes to film. I am more so coming from the more cinematic side of film, which means, if you watch a Netflix documentary and you watch how they interview these people and the B-roll that they film. That's all very cinematic.
Okay.
Usually, right? That is the world I'm coming from. That's how I was trained, more the cinema side. But now what I do, and I still do that with my other company, which is called Cine 48. But on the other project that we're doing right now called Alpha Responder Network, that's very what we call a run and gun style, where there's no time to sit there and think about angles or lighting and things like that. It's all run and gun. Like we are literally running with a gun. Well, that too, actually. But we're running with a camera, right? So we're less concerned about all this the cinematic look. And it was really tough training myself to do this running gun stuff, because for my whole professional career, it's always been the cinema side. Now all of a sudden I'm being thrown into filming just whatever my camera captures, and not worrying about the beauty of the angle or whatever. So I don't know, man, that's a tough question. It seems as if my style has evolved over the years. Now I can kind of do both styles. It's interesting.
Very interesting.
It is.
So with the run and gun, you have no time to stop, no time to cut. There's no cut scenes. You're just filming constantly.
That's it,
not
man.
Like you can say, cut, take a break, guys.
That's it. Yep. You're exactly right. There's no time to cut. There's, if we're essentially following the action, right? So we are, you hit it on the head. There's no time to sit and think about your next angle. Now, of course, when we're out in the field filming with law enforcement, I'm still trying, I'm not jerking the camera around. I am still trying to figure out what the best angle would be, but it's nowhere near the cinematic style, where even just for an interview, we're even days before the shoot, we're going to these locations. It's called scouting. You scout the location, make sure that the location has enough depth. You look to see if there's any ambient light coming in from anywhere else, right? We're looking at windows, and though we're not always using those windows for natural light, sometimes we do, but we are covering up any kind of lights that may exist, because essentially when we come in, we're turning off, we're getting rid of light, and then we lighting for film. So it's quite a different process for the more cinematic style. It takes hours and hours and hours to film, or to set up a scene just for one simple interview.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And my wife hates me, dude. Anytime we watch a movie, it doesn't matter what movie it is or a Netflix documentary, I'm always like, oh man, look over here. They set the light over here and they put the backlight over here, and she hates it, dude. I've ruined every movie for her.
Quit it.
I feel bad.
Here's some food for thought for you. Did you know that George Lucas, he was a Western fan, and he loved Japanese movies like Shogun and all that stuff, and also obviously science fiction and all of those things, and plus like the Bible, he incorporated all of that into Star Wars. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah, if you look really closely, you can see all that stuff.
Yeah. Wow, that's fascinating. About it. Yeah, I'm thinking about it now. I can certainly see some of those aspects, those angles in there. I've never thought about that, or I've never heard that. That's interesting. Yeah. I did know that he did have a Western style. He did American Graffiti back in the 60s, 70s, and
Yeah.
You know, he's had different styles over the years, but yeah, dude, you're right. With Star Wars, he kind of implemented a lot of those different styles. That's cool.
Yeah.
You know
A lot of people don't realize that, and I'm like, those are all the kinds of things that I like.
that. It's probably why we love Star Wars so much.
Right. It hits all the aspects, and it's like
Yeah.
all in one thing, and it's like, wow, this is great.
That's so true.
That was my little geeky moment for this.
I love it. I love it. Keep it coming.
So you were torn between film and military service. What ultimately pushed you to join the Army?
Great question. When so before I joined the military, I had a little film production company that I started with 4 other guys, 4 total. And this is right out of college. And we got it to a point where it was running pretty well. And then I got a wild hair up my butt, and I was like, man, I'm going to go after my next passion, which is law enforcement. So I essentially left the business. Again, there was 4 partners. I wasn't the only owner. So I left the business in the hands of the 3 other guys, and we found a cinematographer to take on my role in the business. And I thought they had it handled pretty well. And then I get out of basic training, which basic training and AIT combined are, man, I want to say 6 months, but that doesn't sound right. Maybe it is. I got out of AIT, which is it stands for Advanced Individual Training. That's essentially where they train you to be a military police. I don't have any communication with the outside world. No one does. Well, maybe today they do. I don't know what's going on in the military these days. But when I was in, we would only get our phones for about 30 minutes. And you could only talk to either your spouse, if you had a spouse, or your parents. So naturally, I would call my spouse, my wife at the time, and she didn't know what was going on with the business. So I didn't hear anything. But essentially, long story short, I got out of basic training in AIT and talked to the guys that were running the business, and they were like, "Yeah, it went under." I was like, "Oh man, that was kind of a sad moment for me." So we tried to revive it at one point. It was just dead. Let me back up here. So when I left it in their hands, it was doing very well. It was running great. That's why I went to the military, because I was like, man, okay, you guys have it handled. I want to go chase after my other dream, which is law enforcement. So I figured join the military because, most cops are all former military. Maybe that would up my chances of becoming a cop. So did that, got the training, and then got that training that I received, and then quickly found out that I did, after I got out, I did apply with several police departments here in the Valley, and at that time there were several hiring freezes. This must have been, I don't know, 2012, 2013, somewhere in there. But yeah, the whole country, essentially the whole country, but specifically Phoenix, Arizona, there was a lot of hiring freezes. So I would train with some of these guys, not train, but I would test with some of these police departments, and then they'd come back and say, "Hey, actually, we're having a hiring freeze right now." I did get all the way with Arizona Department of Public Safety. Got to the very end where they're essentially asking you, "Hey, which academy do you want to attend? Do you want to be in the October academy or the December?" and I can't remember what I said, but it was looking really good for me. I was like, hell yeah, this is happening. And then I get a letter in the mail a few weeks later, and it's saying something like, "Mr. Shelley, we apologize, but we won't be proceeding at this time." And it was just that. There was no explanation. So I contacted several of my buddies. I was like, "Hey," who were currently in DPS, and I was like, "Hey, I just got this letter," and a lot of them all said the same thing. They're like, "Dude, they just want you to continue applying. They want to see that that you really want this, basically." And I was like, "What? Well, that's silly. I don't want to continue to go through all this process. Like, it's a lot of time and effort to do this stuff." So after going through all of that, I was just like, dude, screw it. I don't want it that bad. I'm just going to go back to what I love doing, which is film. That's what I grew up doing, and I knew how to make money in it. And and honestly, I make a lot more money doing film than being a cop. I was kind of pissed off, so I was like, I'm just going to get into film. And yeah, so long story short, that's what I've done ever since. And I wouldn't be truthful if I didn't tell you that sometimes the thought comes across, I still want to be in law enforcement, but I have to remind myself that I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing right now. Right. When I was a kid, I remember thinking I was either going to be a cop or in film, and I loved watching cops. And I was like, man, maybe what if I filmed for cops when I was a kid? Or, I was having these kind of thoughts. And right. And now I am doing exactly that. I am filming with law enforcement. The best part is I don't have to fill out any kind of, paperwork, or, I don't have to sit there on a computer, because what cops don't show you is the amount of paperwork they're doing, right? Right. Reports that they're filling out. So at the end of the day, I film and I go home while they're still writing up reports.
Right.
So
when I was in a foster home, I was in a part of the Big Brother, Little Brother program, and I had a mentor who worked in the jails, about 11, and he became a police officer in Fremont, California. Eventually, I ended up in a foster home, and they ended up taking me, getting their foster license. So I lived with him and his wife, and I actually did a ride along with him when I was about 15. I remember at the end of the day, him having to sit down on the computer to do all those reports. And that was the most boring thing I could ever think.
Yeah.
It was great out, riding around and stuff, and
right.
all this stuff. But him sitting down, I was like, wow.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it is awful, man. It is really bad. And thankfully, I'm at the point now where anytime I go out and ride with these guys, when it's time for them to pull over and do their reports, or everyone's different, right? Sometimes they'll take the work with them back home, or they'll just do it at work. But I'm like, all right, dude, do your thing. I'm out. I don't want to sit around for that. So yeah, dude. But at the same time, I'm kind of joking on them, but these guys, these men and women, their job is one of the most honorable jobs, and one of the most scariest jobs. I've been in plenty of situations with these guys where I thought I could possibly die right now. Right. And these guys do it every day. It is their job to go out there and tackle whatever is going on, the crime. I've been doing this for years now, several years, and it still amazes me that these men and women go out there every day, have to be a professional in the field, deal with a lot of these people, and still have to come home safe to their family, and it's wild to it's if people only understood that part of the job, I think America, I think the country would have a lot more respect for them, knowing about all the things that they deal with.
Yeah. I wish a lot more people would have more respect for, law enforcement, especially, and, as well as other first responders, but mostly law enforcement, because they get the worst flack of all of it. They're not the favored of all of the
first responders.
And it's unfortunate because they do a very, very hard job.
Yes, they do. There, like I said, there are those moments. I have some really good friends up in Navajo County who are constantly calling me and saying, "Hey, Kent, we're hiring." They really want me to work for them, and I have to remind myself that I'm happy where I'm at. I just love what I'm doing, and I'm not necessarily dealing with those risks that they're doing, that they're dealing with. But not only that, man, I mean, even if it's not a risky situation, I mean, most of the people that they pull over, people are just, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here, but people are jerks. People are jerks.
People are assholes.
Yes, they are assholes. And these men and women have to deal with that every day and come home and put on a happy face for their spouse, for their kids. It is a tough job. They have an incredibly tough job. And I don't know if I could ever do it.
Right.
And you hear it all the time. I just there was someone on Joe Rogan just recently who was talking about the life expectancy of a police officer when they retire, and that life expectancy is 5 years after they retire. So that gives you an idea as to how difficult that job is. They're not only is it the mental aspect of it, but they're sitting in a vehicle for sometimes 12 hours a day. They're pounding energy drinks. It's not the healthiest lifestyle, although they are, they are supposed to keep up with their PT and stuff. But once they retire, it's like that sharpness, that mental sharpness just kind of fades away. And I don't know all the science behind it, but yeah, the average life expectancy of a police officer is 5 years after they retire. So pretty wild.
It is crazy. My step grandfather, he was a police detective from Berkeley, California. I remember as a kid, and he had all these books, and he was a part of Motor Patrol when Kennedy was president. So when he came to Berkeley, he was in that motorcade. So I look at his books and all of his pictures and stuff, but he drank himself away. After my grandmother passed away, he just drank himself to death.
Damn.
It was sad to see.
Yeah. Yep. And it happens all too often, man.
Yeah.
You hear about it all the time. It's unfortunate. Yeah. I mean, dude, I just heard about it a few days ago. We still have law enforcement to this day who are still working the roads and that are abusing alcohol or whatever it may be. I think the general public, we view these people as everyone's different, right? But people don't realize that these people are dealing with their own internal battles as well, if not more than most people, right? And a lot of these people are going home and crushing a bottle, and they're dealing with some heavy stuff. things that that normal people would not see or experience. So yeah, it's sad, man. I don't think there's enough support for these for the career, for the
We will return after this quick ad break.
The William H. Bill Butler Jr. Foundation is on a mission to honor first responders and support those who serve. We provide scholarships for families who have lost a hero in the line of duty, offer second chances to juvenile offenders who are working to rebuild their future, and help new recruits pursuing careers as first responders. Through generous donations and the sale of merchandise, we're building a community that uplifts, empowers, and creates lasting impact. You can be a part of this mission as well. Visit 8158podcast.com to donate or shop today. Together, we can support those who serve, honor those we've lost, and give hope to those who need it most. Behind every badge is a story, and behind every story is a sacrifice. This is the 8158 podcast, where we honor the lives and legacies of first responders and their families. If our mission speaks to your heart, if these stories move you like they move us, join us on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you'll get ad-free listening, exclusive merchandise, behind-the-scenes content, and video episodes only available to our patrons. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement, and you can be a part of it. Support us at patreon.com/8158podcast. Let's continue to share the stories that deserve to be heard.
as police officers, they don't have enough support.
Support groups for mental health awareness.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, it's tragic.
That's kind of like what we're trying to do with the podcast, is trying to shed light on the mental health aspect of it, and to, help out our first responders and military veterans as much as we can. And if it's just giving them a voice so they can have a safe platform to talk and kind of air those issues out and just, talk to people. So
I love that, man. You guys are doing great things.
Appreciate that.
And of course, not being in law enforcement, but spending a lot of time with law enforcement, I know that this platform is doing exactly that. You're, like you said, you're giving these people a voice, and that's all really. Well, I shouldn't say that's all they need, but that's certainly a start where they can just talk about what's on their minds and on their hearts, and having a safe place to talk about this. Like that is a lot, and a lot can happen in just a conversation. So I want to thank you for for starting this, because that's huge. That's huge.
I appreciate it. Yeah, if it wasn't for my cousin, I wouldn't be doing this, to be honest. Because not because I'm not for first responders or anything like that. It's because I was a very introverted person. I didn't like to socialize. I kept to myself. I had very few friends, like especially in school, I only had like one or two friends. And that's the way I kept it, because I was a very shy person. I didn't know how to conversate with people. But something happened, just like something snapped after my cousin was killed, and at his vigil, something snapped, and I was invited on the news, and I talked on the news a couple of times, and I didn't even bat an eye. Normally, I would just say no, because that's not who I am. But I didn't even think twice about it. I just did it. And then Brianne, I kept telling her, I was like, we got to do something about this. We have to say something. We have to do something. What can we do to help? And she said, "Why don't you do a podcast?" I was like, "Are you crazy? I can't do a podcast. I don't like that." You know,
You're like, do you know me?
yeah. But fortunately, I I stewed on it, and it burned me up. Like it was like this really just deep desire. Like I felt it in my gut, in my heart, and it just kept burning and burning for months.
Hmm.
And I ended up just buying the podcast equipment. I hadn't even decided whether or not I was going to do it or not. And then just one day I was like, all right, we set a date. We're going to do it. And I'll start with my interview first. And I had her do my interview first to kind of talk about why I started this podcast and where I came from. And then we started with my cousin's wife, and then my cousin, his sister, my other cousin, Christy, and then just family members. And then we just exploded. Like,
Wow.
I mean, we're on season 2, and we've got like over 60 episodes or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Different first responders and, bonus episodes and things like that. And it also inspired me to want to venture out and do other things as well, like do public speaking for people. I don't know if did we tell you about the nonprofit that we set up? We had a nonprofit set up in my cousin's name.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the president of that. And so just that one incident, it snapped. Something snapped in my brain, and I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to do this.
Yeah. I love that, man. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? It takes I guess maybe it's not always traumatic, but it takes a situation to wake something up in you.
Right. It does.
Yeah. It's interesting how it works.
Yeah. And she told me, she goes, you have a personality. People like you.
Mm-hmm.
You could do it. People like you. You can do it. I was like, I just don't talk to people.
Yeah.
But it's working out. So
it's awesome.
I'm better for it. I'm growing. I'm getting better.
Yeah. And if anything, man, obviously you're helping out other people, but
absolutely.
If you really look at it, I mean, you're coming out of your shell too. You're building within yourself. And I'm doing something similar too. I'm kind of like you, Rico. I hate, there's a reason why I'm behind the camera, right? I've always preferred being behind the camera. If I am on a camera, or if I have to do any kind of public speaking, which we were just on the news a couple months ago, Fox 10 News, dude, I stutter more than what I normally do. I do not enjoy it. And now, unfortunately, I say unfortunately, it is unfortunate, but I'm being asked to be more on the camera because people want to resonate with someone, right? Because I have this YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm. People
want to see who's behind the channel, right? Because supposedly people want to, they feel like they are drawn closer to people if they know who the face is of the channel. So my team is like, dude, Ken, you got to be out there more. You got to go on camera more. And I'm like, oh man, I hate you guys. So it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable for me, but you got to do it. And just like you said, we'll get better at this stuff. At least I hope so. Maybe more of these. Maybe I'll be drinking on the job, right?
It's kind of odd because I hated being in front of the camera. I hated talking in front of people, but I played in bands. I did a lot of music, and we did a lot of festivals, and I played in front of large crowds. And it was, every time we got up, I was still nervous, but I didn't have to talk. So that part didn't bother me. It was just the speaking, and because I'm not a very eloquent person, especially like Mark Lamb or anything like that.
Right.
But in a sense, I am kind of smart in a way.
Sure. Absolutely.
But maybe I don't give myself enough credit. But after going on the news those 2 times, and then after we started the podcast after 9 episodes, Lex 18 decided they wanted to interview me about the podcast.
Mm.
So I interviewed with them, and they did a 2-minute thing on me and the podcast and what we did. And I wasn't nervous.
Oh, wow.
It was just like second nature.
Wow.
And doing, doing the podcast helped a lot. It really
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. It helps a lot. And, I would encourage you, if that's what you got to do, you're going to rock it. You're going to do just fine. You're doing good now. So you're on here, and nobody's seeing you live right now, but they'll probably see you later if they get on the Patreon.
Sure. Which they better do.
Yeah.
Join the Patreon.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I'll get there. I'll get there.
Yeah.
Just like you said, it's going to take time and practice. And, I don't think I'll ever be a Mark Lamb on camera. That dude it blows me away, man. He can just be
a show.
Yeah, it's still a show. One day I hope to be that good. Probably never will be, but at least a little better than what I am now. So we'll see.
I think you'll do pretty good. Be the face of the company, and just show people that you're real down to earth. You're a genuine person. That kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And that's what I've come to realize is just be you, be yourself, be genuine, and just raw and real.
That's it.
So this is me being myself.
Yes. Yep.
So.
Yep. No, I agree, man. I definitely agree. Don't try to pretend to be someone else, right? And not even that. It's that's probably the worst thing you can do is trying to be someone who you're not. Just right. Like you said, just be yourself. Which is funny. If I'm truly myself, Rico, I am a filthy mouthed mother effer, dude. I feel more
like a sailor.
Huh? What's that?
Cuss like a sailor, huh?
I do, bro. I do, man. And it's kind of a second language at this point. But it's interesting. I don't tell a lot of people about this, but I actually grew up LDS. I grew up Mormon, and I left the church, man, years ago, 2011, somewhere in there. And leaving the church did a lot of good for me, mentally, physically, spiritually. The version you see of me now is the real version of me. And I talk to a lot of my friends about this all the time, actually, because a lot of my friends have left the Mormon church. We now feel more ourselves than we did our first 20 years of life, or 25 years in my case, being a member of the church. So I'm not sure why I'm bringing that up, but it's great you just got to be yourself. Just got to be yourself. Right. And that's what I'm trying to do every day. And I'm not trying to put on some sort of facade and act like I'm, some super smart dude. I'm just doing me, man, and loving every minute of it, and hope to continue to do what I'm doing. So
I think you will. You will.
Thanks,
I mean, you can be inspired by other people.
Totally.
But just be yourself.
That's it. That's it, bro.
Be yourself.
That's it. You are right.
So I have a few more questions for you.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to your military and policing aspirations. So you'd spent 6 years as a military police officer. What were some of the biggest lessons you took away from that time?
I didn't enjoy leadership.
Okay.
No, I'm kind of kidding. Kind of kidding. Kind of truthful at the same time. We'd make fun of these. So I was what's called a enlisted. I wasn't commissioned. I wasn't an officer. Um, so I was essentially
Mm-hmm.
non-commissioned, and we'd make fun of these younger guys who would come in commissioned, officers, and didn't have, these kids were 18 sometimes, and they were what we called butter bars and no life experience, but yet they were barking orders at us just because they had a degree, right?
Right.
But I'm kidding, man. That's kind of what you deal with in the military. Sometimes you get these kids who are trying to rule your life. But no, man, I learned a lot of stuff from the military. If anything, I learned, and this is going to sound cliche because I'm sure a lot of people can say the same thing, but I learned a great deal of camaraderie, a lot of trust in my brothers and sisters who raised their right arm with me. I knew, and we called them battle buddies. I knew my battle buddies had my back. If we were in any sort of scary situation, I knew that these people would take a bullet for me, and vice versa. We had this bond that you can't experience anywhere else. So I don't know, man. If that's one thing I walked away from the military with any kind of, or even something that I miss today is the camaraderie. There's nothing like it. But yeah, as far as life lessons, I did a lot of growing up in the military, a lot of things that just changed me, opened up my eyes to what the reality of life is about. Maybe not life is about, but you see things that you don't see in the civilian side. A lot of life-changing experiences, whether those are good or bad. I had both. Yeah, man, I don't know. It's a tough one for me because it did a lot of good for me. The military did a lot of good for me. I didn't join because I was a shithead. I joined because I purely wanted to serve my country, and it was, there was a lot of ups and downs all the time, and that's part of the reason why I didn't extend my contract. I didn't re-up because it's easy to, how do I say this in a nice way? It's easy to get real fed up in the military with the things you're dealing with. But as I look back on it now, it was some of the best 6 years of my life. I gained a lot of friendships, a lot of valuable knowledge, even just skills that I wouldn't have learned anywhere else. Just like something as simple as fixing a car. It's part of being an MP is you're looking over your vehicle, you're doing vehicle maintenance. I mean, there's so many things that I could talk about that change me from this young kid to an adult. Things that I will always value from what I learned from the military.
Right.
Probably doesn't answer your question, man, but yeah, it was military life is interesting. That's for sure.
Well, obviously it made you grow up
100%.
in a very fast way.
In a very what?
Fast way.
Yes. Very fast way. Very fast way.
definitely understand it.
Yeah.
So
My
yeah,
nephew actually just joined the Army. He's going in as a cavalry guy. And he just turned 18, so he's going in pretty young, right? And the first thing he told me, we just dropped him off. He just shipped out to Georgia for his basic training, and he told me right before he left, he's like, "Yeah, Kent, the first thing I'm going to do is buy a Charger and deck it out." I'm like, no, dude, don't be that guy. That's kind of the running joke in the military is these young kids, as soon as they get their first paycheck, they're running to the dealership and buying a Charger or some car that they don't need, right? Where all their entire paycheck's going to. I was like, dude, do not do that. Learn from my mistakes. And though I never did that, but don't be that guy. Be smart about how you spend your money. Don't do what all the other younger privates are doing. Buy a crappy older Corolla. There's nothing wrong with that. Be smart, listen to your leadership, and keep your head on straight. There's just so many life things you can learn from the military. I mean, I tell people all the time, the younger kids who are kind of, questioning whether to go to the military or not. I'm like, oh man, it's a good thing. It'll teach you a lot. It'll teach you a lot.
Right. Yeah, I've heard a lot. I mean, I've had family that was in the military, from my grandfathers all the way down to my cousin. On my dad's side, my grandfather was a Marine in World War II. My uncle Frankie, he was in the Marines in Vietnam, and my uncle Bill on my mom's side was in the Navy during Vietnam, and also had a grandfather who was in World War II in the Army. And then, of course, my cousin, he was in Iraq. My brother was a Marine, and he was medically discharged. So, I mean, we had a long line
of service members.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Not me, because I was too much of a knucklehead. I got lost. I lost my way. I was on my way. I was on track for that, and I lost my way. So,
yeah,
unfortunately. But in hindsight, I'm able to get back.
100%. 100%. Dude, I always laugh when, not laugh, sorry, that's not the right word. When I have friends who have said, yeah, I should have served. I'm like, actually, dude, you're probably better off not. Like I said, I'm not trying to tell people, if their hearts are set on joining the military, then yeah, absolutely join. It's a great honorable thing to do. Especially if you want to serve your country, you're doing it for the right reasons, right? You're not just doing it for a paycheck, which is, in my experience, I would say at least half of the recruits, it's just a job for them. They're not out there necessarily wanting to serve their country, right? It's kind of sad, right, but it's the truth. But yeah, my friends who didn't serve and they wish they had, I'm like, bro, you count your blessings. You probably don't deal with any kind of mental crap that majority of us do, maybe physical ailments, a lot of the crazy stuff that goes on in the military. Like, just like you said, there are still ways to serve. You may not think that they're the coolest ways to serve, because sure, you're not carrying around an M16 or whatever it is, but there's still honorable ways to serve the country or your community. No, I think in some ways that's actually more powerful than joining the military. Just being an active member of society and giving back. I mean, that's what everyone should be doing.
Right. That's what I would like to see more people do, is get back
Yeah.
and show a lot more love and compassion and respect to our military veterans and to our law enforcement and other first responders, fire, EMS, dispatch, corrections officers,
Yeah.
that search and rescue. They deserve a lot more respect than what they're given.
Totally. Absolutely.
So we're trying to break that stigma, as well as break the stigma of the mental health aspect of it, because there's a lot of mental health issues that
Oh,
a
yeah.
person goes through.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, there is.
And that's kind of why we lean towards the mental health aspect, because we felt like it came onto us so hard that that's all we heard. And then Brianna and I felt like this would probably be the best thing, and the one thing that my cousin would have wanted us to focus on, because he was a humble guy. He didn't want all the attention on himself.
Sure.
And that's what we originally started the podcast was about, him and shedding light on first responders, giving them love and respect and just honoring his memory. We quickly found out that this is what he would want us to do. So his spirit and his likeness, we're going to carry that, because he loved his first responders. He loved law enforcement. He didn't have to be an officer. I mean, he served in the county jail for 12 years while he was in the Guards. He retired after 20 years of being in the Guards, and he went full time as a recruiter in the Guards. He was a realtor, so he made really good money.
Oh, wow.
And he made partners with the company he worked with at the realty company, because he was going to start his own company, and they said, "No, why don't you be a partner with us?"
Oh, wow.
So he made good money.
Yeah.
And he had the military retirement. So after he retired, he just loved law enforcement. He loved his law enforcement family. He loved all first responders. He just loved what he did. He did it because he loved it.
What a stud.
And he could. He could do whatever he wanted. He was just that kind of person.
Yeah.
So
love that.
So I mean, that's kind of like in a nutshell how we come about, and we want to help first responders like he would.
Yeah.
We want to carry his memory and his legacy to continue that love and support.
I love that. I'm sure if he was here today, he'd be all about it.
Oh yeah, he would. And after we did the first episode was me and why we did the podcast, and then we did the second episode, which was our first guest, and that was Bill's wife, Sarah, and she told me to keep doing it. She said, "Keep doing this. It's going to help a lot of people. Keep doing it." So like, yeah, we're going to do it. And that's pretty much what we hear all the time. It's just keep doing this. It's helping a lot of people. We hear that it saves lives, and you don't know how the impact it has on people.
So true, man.
Hearing other people's stories and sharing those stories with other people shows that they're not alone, and it gives them hope that there's a way out.
That's right.
Whatever they're going through.
That's right. And something I think about often is even if it's one person who watches this podcast or my show or whatever, if we've inspired one person, at least in my opinion, I feel like I've done my job. That's mission accomplished.
Exactly.
Yeah. If we save a life, and our content's very different, right? And I know you wanted to talk about ARN at one point, but
yeah,
my mission is not necessarily to show all the crazy stuff that law enforcement get into or first responders. It's really just to show that these men and women are human beings that, show the raw side of what they deal with every day. Right. That way the general public can be like, oh, I get it. these guys deal with this every day. Maybe I should have a little more respect for them.
Right.
So if I'm doing that, if I'm getting people to understand what these people are dealing with, then I'm happy. I've completed my mission.
Exactly. It's, you're right. And that's kind of like the same idea of what we were doing with this podcast, was showing people that our first responders are people. They have thoughts, feelings, they have families that love and care about them, and they want them to come home safely.
That's right.
And we wanted to shed light on that. And, because obviously the world we live in, it's not perfect. It is gone crazy. It is nuts. And it is unfortunate that law enforcement takes the brunt of the hatred.
Yes.
And they deserve a lot more respect. And of course, granted, there are some bad apples. But you can't judge one bad apple against the many good officers that are out there.
That's right.
Because there's a lot of them.
Yep. There are.
So,
in fact, I'll be honest. Even since I've been doing ARN, I've met some deputies that I'm not fond of because of how they treat people, and I've made it a point not to go back out with those people and film with those people, because I don't want to show that side of law enforcement. I want to show the men and women who are truly out there to serve the public, and put the spotlight on those people, the people who deserve to be in the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you're right, man. There are bad apples in the industry, just like there is with everyone,
absolutely.
with every job. But like you said, yeah, it's unfortunate that law enforcement, it's like it's magnified with law enforcement because they are the poster children of the world, right?
Right.
They are set to higher standards than us. But at the end of the day, they are human beings. They make mistakes. And like we were talking about before, they've got to let off a little bit of steam, just like anyone else does. A lot of these guys have drinking problems, just like normal people do. And I think it's awful that they are being ridiculed the way they are. And it's been intensified over the years, especially with the whole George Floyd thing. And the younger generation, I mean, they already don't have a lot of respect for anyone, right? But it's getting worse every day. And that's kind of what my mission is, to show the world, hey, these people put on their underwear the same way you do, except these guys are going out and trying to take crime off the streets. We should probably have a little more respect for these people.
Right. Exactly. And don't take it to heart when you get pulled over and get a ticket.
That's right.
I mean, I've been pulled over many times, and
Sure.
9 times out of 10, I'm always respectful to officers, troopers, or whatever. And 9 times out of 10, they just say, slow down, go about your business, whatever.
Yep.
On a rare occasion, I'll get a ticket.
Yep.
But I mean, that's just been my experiences, being respectful and polite, and not giving them an indication that I'm going to, be harmful to them or be a danger or a threat. Although on the other hand, there are aspects of, when people are acting a fool and, they want to brandish a firearm and they want to shoot at officers and stuff. And then when you hear, like we talked about Grady Judd with Mark Lamb, and I've heard some comments from Grady Judd before, which I totally agree with, in the sense that when you fire on a police officer and you catch a hail of bullets, that's something that you asked for.
That's right.
You called for it because you were, if you're willing to kill a police officer, there's no telling what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's their job to protect themselves and their communities. That's what they're trained to do.
Yep.
So when Grady Judd gets on there and the news asks him, why did you fire 60 times at this individual? And then he says, because we ran out of ammo. That's what you're going to get.
Oh, Sheriff Judd. I love that guy.
Yeah.
But no,
he's pretty awesome.
He is. But you're right, man. A lot of these people, they deserve what they get. If you're going to be out there acting a fool, then, dude, it's quite amazing to see how lenient law enforcement can be when you are just respectful, right?
Yes.
I'm not saying be a bootlicker, right? I'm not a bootlicker. I just respect people. I respect law enforcement. I respect my neighbors. If you were just a genuine human being and say, yeah, dude, I was speeding, man, I'm sorry. That goes a long way. People don't realize that goes a very long way. You are most likely going to get out of a ticket if you just say, yeah, dude, I was speeding,
Yeah.
And if you're just respectful, it's the people who are instantly pulling out their phone and saying, just bull crap, whatever they say these days, just being disrespectful, right?
Yeah.
That is the easiest way to get a ticket.
Put yourself on the radar.
Right, exactly. It puts you on the radar. Just be cool. Just be just admit that you were that you're at fault. And nine times out of 10, you're probably going to get out a ticket. They're just, and of course they're just doing their job, right? They're law enforcement. They're enforcing the law. You shouldn't be speeding. You shouldn't be, and of course it happens, right? I speed all the time, but if you're willing to humble yourself and just say, yeah, man, I was speeding, that goes a long way. Cops are much more lenient on people. I've seen it a million times.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of these cops don't even like writing tickets because it's just another report.
It's
paperwork. They don't want to write a ticket. They don't want to show up to a domestic violence situation. They're sick of it. They're sick of having to babysit people, right? They just want people to follow the law or just be good human beings, good citizens.
Right. Be kind.
Be kind. It's the golden rule. It's the golden rule, man.
Thank you for joining us on 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Every story we share is a tribute to the courage and resilience of first responders and their families. If this episode impacted, encouraged, or inspired you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who supports first responders. Follow us on all social media platforms at 8158 Podcast for updates. 8158 Stories of Sacrifice is a team effort. Rico brings the stories to life through casting, writing, original music, and editing. Brianne Shipley as production manager, handling booking, social media, graphics, promotion, marketing, website management, and logo design. Please visit our website at 8158podcast.com. For questions, collaborations, or to share your story, our email address is contactus@8158podcast.com. Until next time, let's continue to honor the legacies and remember the sacrifices of those who serve, every brave man and woman on the front lines, protecting and defending us all. This is Rico signing off and honoring 8158. 8158.